Hello, welcome back. So just like the problem that we did before, we're going to deal with some additional fraction problems. Because we're kind of scared of fractions, and I'm going to tell you and teach you how to not be scared of fractions. Okay, so let's say, for example, I have a problem that looks like this. X over 2 minus 7, and then that's going to be equal to 9. Or hold on, let me step back a bit. Hold on. Let's say I have a problem that looks like this. Negative 6 over 5 k, and that's equal to 12. Okay? Now, we want to get rid of the fraction. Okay? You can think about it this couple ways. You could just think about getting rid of the denominator, but I want to get rid of the fraction because I want that 6/5 to become 1, right? Because I want the k to be by itself. Well, just like if I had 6k and that's equal to 12, I would divide by 6. So now the inverse of multiplication or division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply it by the inverse or the reciprocal of 6/5. So that's going to become 5 over 6. Now, there's that negative right here. This negative value right there. So in order to deal with that negative value, I need to multiply it by the negative value because a negative times a negative is a positive. And you can do your little robot man. Okay, looks like I got two negatives and then I got a little face. So when I have a negative and a positive, my answer is going to be negative. And then when I have a negative and a negative, my answer is going to be positive. Okay, that can kind of help you keep that sign straight. This is now going to cancel out and become 1. I need to multiply this side by 5 over 6. So then that's going to leave me with k is equal to, now look, 6, again, this is like 12 over 1. And so that becomes 12 over 6. 6 goes into 12 2 times. So now, and 6 goes into itself 1 time, so that 6 becomes a 1. So now I'm just left with 2 times negative 5. 2 times negative 5 will leave me with negative 10. So my answer should be k is equal to negative 10. Now, let's check it. So I'm going to check with negative 6/5 k is equal to 12. Okay, this is my check. So that means that I'm going to substitute in negative 10 for k. So this is going to be negative 6/5 times negative 10 is equal to 12. Positive times a positive, or negative times a negative will give me a positive, okay? Again, this is like saying 10 over 1. 5 goes into 10 2 times. 5 goes into itself 1 time. So then that just becomes 6 times 2, which is 12. 12 is equal to 12. That is correct, and that checks. Hopefully that helps. Let's do one more. So let's say, for example, let's say I have negative 1/2 m, and that's going to be equal to negative 9. Okay? The inverse of division is going to be multiplication. I'm going to take the reciprocal of 1/2. That's going to become 2 over 1. And again, that's going to be negative because a negative times a negative is a positive. And I need to multiply this side by 2 over 1 as well. All right? That becomes 1, so then I'm left with m. So then that just becomes negative 9 times, then again, that's negative 9 over 1. Negative 9 times negative 2 is positive, so I can just go ahead and make both of these positive, okay? So then that just leaves me with 9 times 2, which is going to give me 18. You could say 18 over 1, but again, every number is over 1. It's an invisible math, so I can just drop it. Now, let's try a little bit harder problems. So let's talk about if a problem where I have a fraction and a constant. So let's say, for example, Buffy, quit it. Let's say I have a problem that looks like this. 3/5 x plus 22. And let's say that's equal to 28. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the constant first. So subtract 22 from both sides. That's now going to become 0, right? I'm going to bring down my 3/5 x, and then this is going to be equal to 8 minus 2. That's going to be 0. 8 minus 2 is going to give me 6, so this is going to be equal to 6. Now I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal, or rather the inverse. Dang it. Inverse of 3/5. The inverse of 3/5 is going to be 5/3. I need to do both sides. So that's going to cancel out and become 1. So now I'm just left with x. 3 goes into 6 2 times. And 3 goes into itself 1 time. So now that becomes 2 times 5, which leaves me with 10. Now let's check. So that's 3/5 x that we're checking it in, plus 22 is equal to 28. I'm going to substitute in. So 3/5 times 10 plus 22, that's going to be equal to 28. 5 goes into 10 2 times. So that becomes 2 times 3, which gives me 6, plus 22. Again, 5, that's a 1. 6 plus 22, and that's going to be equal to 28. 6 plus 22 is 28, so 28 is equal to 28. You could have subtracted 22, or if you subtracted 22, that would have changed it to 6, and then it would have been 6 is equal to 6. That's the beauty of equations. It gets really, really nice. All right. Hopefully, let's say, do one more. I'm going to write it down, and then I think you should pause the video and try to do it yourself. So let's say we have 15 minus 1/2 x. All right. I would suggest you pause the video and then resume it and see if you got it correct. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to get rid of my variable is negative 1/2. I'm going to get rid of, again, there's an invisible plus there. Plus 9. So now I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. 15 minus 9 will give me 6. 6 is equal to negative 1/2 x. I'm going to multiply it by the reciprocal of negative 1/2. So that, or the inverse, so that's going to be negative 2 over 1. So that cancels, it becomes 1, so I'm left with x on that side, times negative 2 over 1. So then that just becomes negative 2 times 6 is going to give me negative 12. Let's check it and see if that makes sense, especially because it's kind of weird. So we're going to check. So 15 is equal to 9 minus 1/2 x. So 15 is equal to 9 minus 1/2 times negative 12. I'm multiplying here. Multiplying negative, so that's going to become positive. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So that leaves me with 15 is equal to 9 plus 6. 9 plus 6 is going to give me 15. So 15 is equal to 15. That does work out. My x value is correct. Hopefully that helps a little bit, clear things up a little bit more. And we'll see you next time.